Hey guys, so I'm really hoping I can get through this video because that one's asleep and he's been a little turd head all day today. So anyways, as you can tell in the title above, I'm going to be ranking my Natasha Denona palettes, which I don't have every single palette she's ever came out with. I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 palettes. And I'm excited to do this video. Of course, these are always inspired by Morgan Turner. She is so beautiful and I love her videos, especially like with Natasha Denona, Charlotte Tilbury, and Pat McGrath products. She is the reason I am so interested in luxury eyeshadows. And one of the reasons, the only reason actually, that I ended up purchasing Natasha Denona, Charlotte Tilbury, and Pat McGrath shadows, because to be completely honest, when I first saw Tati do Natasha Denona shadows, I was like, that's too expensive, you're dumb for buying that. But in reality, I'm happy to have these, but I was sitting in the car one day, a few days ago, and I was thinking, no one is going to look at my eyeshadows and say, you're wearing Natasha Denona. Good for you. And that's just the truth. But I do have these palettes because I do YouTube. But from an everyday consumer, I don't think you need every single palette Natasha Denona releases. I think that you should just find the one that color story that you think every single color will go for you and just be happy with that one, to be completely honest. So let's get into it, starting with number 14. I am putting the Mini Tropic palette at number 14. This is my least favorite palette. This is my least used Natasha Denona palette out of all of these. So this is a mini palette. It retails for $25. I got mine on sale for 20 bucks, and you can tell it's very colorful. So I was able to create a full look with this before, and I like it. It was very colorful. So this is the mini version of the Tropic palette, which was $129 and is no longer sold. The Tropic palette had two rows of neutrals, and the final row was all color, which is what these were. And she released this as a reformulated version, which I absolutely adore the fact that she heard her customers not liking the formula and reformulated it. That's amazing and very commendable, and a lot of brands should do that. And this is a good formula and it's really pretty. The reason I'm ranking it so low is because I will have to force myself to use this palette 100%. And 9 times out of 10, I'm only going to reach for this palette if I'm filming a specific video where I want to do color. Because I'm a mom of 2, this is just not my everyday palette. I will show you a couple palettes that are my everyday palettes from Natasha Denona that I don't have issues reaching for, and I love them. But as of the moment I am filming this, my parents are bringing me food home. But as of right now when I'm filming this, I just don't reach for color very often. I love doing colorful looks. I think that this is a colorful look. It's not my favorite. I used a Wet n Wild palette that I think I'm going to declutter in my next declutter. But this is a colorful look, I guess. Just not really. It's a pink one. Okay, number 13. This is the Mini Metropolis palette. So this came out for Christmas of last year. Last year, for 2021. I got this because it was a kit. This retailed for $25 and it came with a brush. So I was like, oh my gosh, I want to try Natasha Denona shadows and I really want a brush. So I was like, I can get a mini palette with a brush pretty much for free. So I was like, that is one hell of a deal. This is a mini version of the Metropolis palette that she came out with apparently for Christmas a few years ago, which I don't have the Metropolis palette. Pretty sure it probably would have been like $100-something. And a couple years ago I was having Kai, so spending $120 on a palette just wasn't in the forte for me at the time, when I just didn't have the money like I do now. Like, I do have the money to go and spend $120 on a palette from Natasha Denona for my YouTube channel. But in all reality, I have used this and I've compared it to Anastasia's Soft Glam 2 palette, I believe. And the formulas are very, very similar. I don't think you need to have a luxury palette from Natasha Denona if you have a high-end palette. Just from an everyday consumer standpoint, the only shade in here that I love is this middle shade right here. It's called Jubilee. And it's just like, for me, just like a pop of color that I actually like whenever I'm reaching for a green like that. Like, that's That's beautiful. It reminds me of a Christmas tree. So I love this. I think that it was well thought out for the Christmas theme with this like this just reminds me of a Christmas tree. So I think it was well thought out and I do love the prices of her kits because you can get a mini palette for 25 bucks, which is her regular price for mini palettes with a free brush. But again, I just don't see being able to use this by itself as a mom of an everyday consumer. I just don't see myself being able to use this every day. I would obviously have to reach into a second palette, which is why this is ranking so low. So this is number 12. And the reason this isn't the last one is because I love cool tone shadows. I have not ordered the Stone Cold Fox palette from ColourPop. I want to, because I'm really getting into cool tones. I want the Glam palette, but when I went to do an order, it was sold out at Natasha Denona and at Sephora, both the midi and the mini. So I have those in my loves, and I'm waiting for that to come through. This is the only part of the Glam I am able to have. It's the Baby Glam. So this came out for Christmas last year, but I don't think that it is. It might still be available. The mini Metropolis isn't. This is a trio. This is the only trio from Natasha Denona you have access to, I believe. This is $19, so that makes these shades $7 a piece. Whereas they are the same size and formula of the minis. This is $25, this is $19. These are $5 a shade, this is $7 a shade. The only reason, again, I got this is because I wanted the cool tone glams from Natasha Denona, but again, they did not have the midi or the mini, so I made do with this. And I love cool tones, which is why this isn't ranking higher or lower. Or it's not ranking lower because I love cool tones. It's not ranking higher because it's a trio. So I hear Jackson crying. I'm sorry, guys. I think my dad has him. Okay. So, number 11. I feel like people are gonna hate this. It's the Sunrise palette. Okay, this is $65. I'm not into these red tones like this, but I love having this because a lot of people are into red tones and they do feel red tones are neutrals. So I love having this for a pro kit, but for me personally, this just isn't the look I'm going for. But I love this palette and I hate this packaging, I really do. I really, really do, but it's whatever. The next one is going to be for the same exact reason, but it's ranking higher because it's not as warm tone, and it's the Sunset palette. I love this packaging of this one. I love this. I wish she would have removed this and just kept this packaging, but this is the Sunset palette. It's $129, and I'm sure she's going to be discontinuing these soon because I don't think she wants to use this packaging anymore. I reach more for this Sunset palette than I will over the Sunrise palette because this is more warm tone, neutral, but it's not red. And for some reason, this yellow just calls to me so much. Okay, so give me a second, guys. Okay, I think this is number 9. This is the mini Lila palette. I know a lot of people don't like the mini Lila palette, but I actually do like this palette. I don't think it's the best palette, but on an everyday basis, this is something I could reach for and use these two shades and be completely fine with it and then have pops of color. And I would have a beautiful, nice neutral look right here with these two shades, and then if I ever wanted a pop of color. And this blue Dahlia, just this shade gets me. I love this shade. That's the shade that I literally wanted the Lila palette for. Okay, number 8 is going to be the Love palette. I was really surprised when I was thinking of how I was going to rank these. But I wanted to put the Love palette here because, yes, I reach for pink tones. I love pink tone palettes. This was my first midi palette from Natasha Denona. This was $65. I don't like the purples in here. I don't know why. I don't think that the purples go. I would have been more happy with a pink and red palette over this palette, but I am happy I have this because I do reach for the other pink tones. And I'll show you, I do reach for the other pink tones. It's just the purples is like, okay, I reach for literally everything on like that half of the palette. But adding this is just like, no, I don't reach for those. Okay, next is going to be the Mini Love palette. And I wanted the Mini Love palette to rank higher because I actually use this, as you can tell, a lot more than the midi. This one was $25. I love the hot pink metal look of this. I reach for this a lot more. It gives me the pink tones that I like, and aside from this shade right here, I can create a full pink beautiful look with just these. Okay, ranking number 6 is the Lila palette. This is the palette Top T reviewed that started it for me. And I think she's discontinuing this because this did disappear from her website. It's the older packaging, but it's beautiful. It is so much nicer than the little mini Lila, but I do think that the two go together. I got this on sale at Sephora. It was like 50% off. I don't even know if you can still get it anymore at Sephora. But yeah. Okay, number 5 is going to be the Camel palette. This is $50, but it is a very beautiful neutral. I love this palette, but the thing, again, it's $50. And I'll show you the difference. This is the $25 palette, and these are the $50. So you can see the difference in the shadow shades. You're obviously getting a lot more in something like this. And I like holding this one up more than the other ones. But yeah, this is just honestly really, really good. If you can get it at Sephora and you want to make like payments on it with clarinet or something like that, I definitely think that this is a good everyday palette for sure. Alright, next, I'm surprised I ranked this so low, is the Star palette, actually, because I lusted for this for so long, and I never thought I would ever get this palette. This is the Star palette. It's got the stars all over it. It is the older packaging. It is divided into like pretty much 2 9 cans, which is why I like this and like having it in my everyday kit. I have used this a few times because you have your warmer neutrals here and your cooler neutrals here. I've dived obviously more into the coolers than in this one, but really like this. For some reason it's listed for $169, and I looked at my receipt and I paid $189 for this. So this is never, ever, ever, ever leaving my collection because this is the most expensive Natasha Denona palette I have. Number 3, Kai is Awake, is the Valentine's Day kit from this year, and it's the Mini Crush palette. I love this. I love the fact that it was $25. I love that it came with a brush. I love these colors. I love this color the most, this Daisy color. I really want to swatch Daisy. I am going to, actually. I have been thinking of this because I've been planning a declutter for a very long time, but I really want to swatch this Daisy shade next to a shade from this Rare Beauty Magnetic Spirit eyeshadow palette. So I'm going to swatch Daisy right here. So beautiful, guys. Oh my god, I love this palette. Okay, there's Daisy. You can see shiny, beautiful, gorgeous loveliness. And for some reason, it sticks out in my mind that there's a shade in here that kind of reminds me of that. And it does, a little bit. It's this shade right here. I believe it is called Abedge? 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 I don't fucking know. Badge? I don't know. And I just want to swatch these two. Okay, yeah, they are quite different, actually. I don't know why I thought these were similar. But, so Rare Beauty is on the bottom, Natasha Denona is on top. Again, I'm going through a declutter series soon, and I want to obviously declutter a lot, and so I was thinking of shadows that I thought were similar, and I really did think that these were similar, but I see now that they're not. But for some reason, I feel like the old Daisy in the Cranberry palette matches this, the Rare Beauty one, more than it matches this one. Am I crazy? I don't know. I'll have to get that out. Okay, number 2 is the Retro palette. Andrea Matteliano is the whole reason I wanted this palette. She sold me on this palette. It is cool tone purple, dream. It is, and mauve. Like, it's beautiful. It really, really is. Does not match the Mini Retro whatsoever. But happy to have this. And then finally, the best Natasha Denona palette in my mind is the Vivo palette. This is $129. But I definitely think that get this from Sephora, make payments on it. This will be your everyday palette for sure. Alright, if you guys enjoyed, so like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell. See you guys in tomorrow's video.